Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Odos, presented by Caldy's Coffee and recorded right here at Bucket List Podcast Studios. This is your can't miss weekly podcast helping you stay in the know in St. Louis. We're talking the new restaurants that are opening, the can't miss events, and of course the people that are helping make our city the best place to live and visit. Stick around until the end of the episode. We've got a full roundup of events happening this week, so you know exactly what's happening before you see them on social media on Monday and feel like you missed out. I am talking with one of our, honestly, hospitality heroes, if you will, for this week's episode. Danni Eickenhorst, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me.
You have just really created an incredible hospitality business in St. Louis. Tell me what moves you forward every day in an industry that's not easy.
Oh, thank you. I'm really proud of what we're building. We always talk about that we're using our restaurants as a tool to do some good in St. Louis. So we're trying to make the St. Louis region a better place for everyone. And it's one of those things that, we can't solve all the world's problems, but we can create these really welcoming spaces for everyone. And we can be a community hub for everyone. So, every day that I get up, that's what I'm focused on is that.
So you've got the Fountain, you've got Steve's Hot Dogs,
Yep.
You've got Steve's Meltdown. Is that the right way to say it? Yes.
Yeah.
And you have multiple locations of all of these spaces.
Correct.
Tell me first, before we get into sort of the world that you have built, how did you get started? How did you get into the restaurant business? Because you didn't have the most usual path.
No, and actually I'm really grateful for the path I took because it was, I went out into the world and I've done just about everything. I've been a vice president of a mortgage company. I have had a marketing business. I've worked in nonprofit. And somehow along the way, I launched my own marketing agency and Steve Ewing became one of my first clients. And he's somebody that I was that I knew since I was about 15 years old when I first moved here.
I love that.
He was a hero of mine, but he's also just such a nice guy. And so when I worked at Salvation Army, I tried to partner with him in different ways and we became friends. So when I started my first marketing agency, he became one of my first clients and he just is amazing. He's got all of this energy. Anything I wanted to do, he was always down for, And so I would help him with projects. I helped him crowdfund to open his second location of Steve's Hot Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that process, I learned what an amazing community he'd built and how much people really love him.
Yeah.
So in 2020, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, could you help me announce that I'm going to close?" And I said, "Sure, but are you crazy?"
Yeah.
I understand there's probably reasons, but I've never, of all the clients I'd worked with, I'd never seen people as invested as they were with him. And it's for a hot dog joint. It really blew me away. So he was set on closing it. And so I was set on supporting him. But I did let him know that if he wanted to rethink it, that I was there to support him. So we announced the closure and on the third day of people coming to say goodbye, it really made him stop and think. And he said, "Let's just see what we can do."
I remember that time so vividly because I remember, I had just had Steve on my podcast. We had talked and then it was, this outpouring of support from the community who just said, no, please don't go.
Yes.
And you guys then formed a partnership to keep it alive.
We did. We shut down for a month and did due diligence. And that's where my business background came in. My husband's CFO. And so he was very, very helpful in helping us dig through the numbers and sort of figure out what works and what doesn't. And is it salvageable? And it was, obviously. And so we relaunched March 1st, 2020, roughly.
A rough time to quote unquote reopen a business.
Correct. And it was just, we didn't have that on our bingo card for the year. We had so many other plans. And Steve's plan for the whole year was just to be touring, really. Mm-hmm. That had been his plan. So obviously COVID hit.
Because for people who don't know, Steve is quite a popular musician.
He is. He's the lead singer of The Urge. And it was just going to be what he thought, an amazing year. So I'm very grateful that it all worked out the way it did. I feel like, in some way the universe had divine timing in a lot of ways because, imagine if he'd shut down and COVID hit and all the music went away and all the hot dog money went away,
Right.
So, instead we were able to we really never closed. You know, I was out of town actually when it shut down. I was in Hawaii because I wasn't planning on opening a restaurant.
Right.
You know? So I was building our website so we could do mobile ordering from Hawaii. And he and his wife and his daughter just ran the shop and they never stopped. And he was so committed to making sure it stayed open during that time. And it was during that time that we were able to start leveraging this thing to do good, you know? So we started feeding the community as people were laid off and they needed meals. It was just so intimate, especially that location because it was in a neighborhood, you know, and these were our neighbors.
5 years later,
Mm-hmm.
is it wild to think what you guys have created?
It's nuts. We went from 5 employees to 150 in 5 years, you know? So everything has changed.
From a growth standpoint, how unusual is that?
Oh, it's crazy. It's unheard of. And it's, you know, for as a leader, the amount of growth you have to go through to be able to continue to lead at that level in the way you want to lead. Like I want to know every employee. I want to know where they want to go. I want to craft a path for them to get there. And there are some days where I don't know everybody. And so my leadership has had to grow and change in a lot of ways too. And now I call ahead to see who's there and I talk to the managers and try to get a sense of like, how can I help them while I'm there, you know? And it's just been a really interesting metamorphosis for all of us.
Because you're not coming at it from a food perspective. I don't know, are you a cook? Do you cook much? Or, I mean, from just your general life perspective?
Yeah, correct. No, I'm a total foodie and appreciator, but I'm not a chef. And so we've got great chefs and I trust and lean into them and I give them guidance on what I'd like to see. And then they just make it happen. They're amazing.
And so you're able to really come at this from just that business marketing perspective.
Yes. Yes.
And how hard is that in today's day and age when it comes to operating a local restaurant business?
I think we've built a really good team. I think, you know, if I didn't have the people I have surrounding me, it would be really hard. But the people that we, you know, Joe came with Steve's and he helped create that menu with Steve originally. And I think Joe and I will retire together, you know, and Jeremy, the same thing. And he helps us at the Fountain as well. And having these great people in our corner and really leaning on their strengths has really made us work. And that's really, I don't know how Steve did it by himself before, you know, it really takes all of us. My husband is excellent at numbers and he really keeps us on task and makes it a viable business. And I've got the marketing and operational mindset and I'm involved everywhere in the community. But we need all of us to make this work.
You mentioned the Fountain. That was another business that you kind of came in and were like, hey, we want to see this survive and carry on into our community. Tell me a little bit about how you guys stepped in and became the owners of the Fountain.
Oh my gosh. So it is just this amazing gem, an icon. And Joy did a beautiful job of developing it. And she was just ready to retire before COVID. And COVID really did a number on it because they had to close for 4 months. And it's one of these places that it's magical because it's gorgeous. The food is as pretty as the art on the walls. But also there's this element of it's the people that make it work there. Like their service is what we're known for and the experience of it all. And they lost so much of that during COVID. So when we stepped into the business, my plan was first off, my husband did this undercover boss thing. He went in for a few weeks and was like a dishwasher, just trying to observe the business.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And they were just like, who is this guy? You know, and eventually they announced that we were buying the business, but it was such a big deal for us as a family. I mean, we're just a family. We don't have unlimited resources. And so it was a big leap for us, but the plan was for Marcus to run the business while I continued to be. I was a COO for Keller Williams, and I ran like 8 of their side businesses, like an entity of theirs. And I loved what I did, and I did this at night. And so that was the plan. But when we got in there, I just realized, okay, like COVID did a number here. The culture is terrible. This thing that we're like gambling our whole livelihoods on might not survive if we don't get in there. And I'm really great at culture. You know, I'm really good at building people up and putting the right people in the right places. I think they need me to come in and kind of be mom right now, you know? So that's what we did.
That is interesting to phrase it like that, to be mom. You know, you're a mom. How do you sort of take off the mom hat, put on the business hat? How do you balance it all amongst all these different entities and jobs that you do?
I don't.
That's the honest answer right there. Balance is a myth.
Yeah, my kids work in the company. I feel like instead of work-life balance, at some point I had to adopt work-life integration.
Okay,
And
I
I'm
like
okay
that.
with that. And I'm very lucky in that I love my job. I've got somebody in my world who retired a few years ago, and they're not that much older than me. And I look at their life and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there's stuff you can be doing. But I don't think that's on the cards for me. But I'm just very grateful that I have a situation that I love every day showing up for. So do my kids. Like they know that this is just our life, and they're very supportive. So
Caldy's Coffee has been proudly roasting in St. Louis since 1994. Guided by a commitment to quality, service, and community, Caldy's strives to make every cup a moment of discovery. And get this, thanks to the support of their St. Louis community and fans across the country, they were named USA Today's #1 coffee chain in 2024. Visit Caldy'sCoffee.com to find your nearest cafe, shop coffee for home, or even book a free tour and cupping at their roastery. Follow the goat to your next great coffee experience. Enjoy the rest of the episode. What have been one of the biggest lessons that you have learned in sort of creating this hospitality business, hospitality world that you were really working to shift the culture of?
Um, that it's really, really, I mean, I get why the restaurant culture is the way it is. The margins in a typical brick and mortar are this big. My
Mhm.
goal every month is to make 20%. There are months that I make -5%, and so no wonder it is what it is. And we've got to actually do something completely different to be able to do anything better by our people. So we've learned a lot the last 5 years, but going forward, our future is not a bunch of brick and mortars. It's going to be, it's that City SC Stadium
Mhm.
opportunity when we went in there, that changed our lives.
Mm.
Carolyn Kindle, Matt Seabag, and the people that pulled that together were so intentional about giving opportunity to local brands. And it really changed everything. We realized like, oh, if we can be in high volume environments with low overhead where people are seeking us out, that lightens the load tremendously, and it gives us something that we can share with our people.
Mm. So what does that look like outside of a stadium? What could that look like where you're coming into a space, bringing your concept, but you don't have that overhead of operating the building, keeping the lights on? What does that look like for the future?
So for us, we're seeking out more opportunities like our Steve's Meltdown at City Foundry. That's a great location for us. Again, low overhead, high volume. They're a partner in it as much as we are. What we're doing out of the district is working as well because they're great partners.
Mhm.
They're driving people out there. We're looking for places though that where they're going to be as invested as we are in driving people there. So ideally we'd be looking at we do a residency every summer with the St. Louis Shakespeare Festival,
Yeah.
and we are the food concepts for the whole month of the show. That's a great opportunity for us. We have started partnering with Grant's Farm on certain things, and we'd love to have a spot at Wash U,
Oh, yeah.
things like that. Those opportunities are the more of what we're seeking, I think, going forward.
Does that include just more Steves? Is there new concepts in the work that you can share any info on?
I can't share too much yet, but yeah, we have 2 other concepts that we will
Okay.
be launching in actually spring of 2026,
Mm.
and they will become part of our events and festivals that we do. So instead of, the typical business model is brick and mortar, catering, maybe food truck somewhere in there, and then maybe you branch out and you do some events and festivals and things like that. To make your money. We're gonna do it all backwards going
Mm.
forward. We're gonna start with our festivals and events and our catering and maybe a food truck. And we may never get to a brick and mortar because it doesn't always make sense, and it's just not always enough money at the end of the day to really change people's lives and give them a better quality of life.
Is that something that you think more people in this industry need to be thinking outside of the box
Yes.
as everyone's just essentially trying to survive?
Yes, this is a really difficult time. Everybody, and it's not just now. I mean, this is a moment, but it's never been easy the whole time I've been in this industry, right? It was COVID and then it was second COVID.
Yeah.
There was like a brief moment of hope and
Mhm.
goodness, and now we're in this economic uncertainty again.
Yeah.
And so I think there's always going to be challenge, and you have to insulate yourself from challenge. We've got what we call we've decided we're going to do a hub and spokes model.
Mm.
Every brick and mortar is a hub, before we're gonna choose to open it, it has to have a lot of things feeding it. Those are the spokes.
Mm.
There has to be sources of traffic and other things supporting it to make it make sense at the end of the day. And so I think anytime you're considering opening a restaurant, you have to look at that. You've got to be like, can I realistically build a strong catering program? Are there things I can do in the community that will feed this when it's slow? There've got to be other sources of income to make it work.
You guys also were dealt a really tough blow this year with the tornado that hit St. Louis earlier this year. Your Delmar location, you guys had really just gotten up and going, and then that horrific tornado just crushed right down Delmar.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Not great.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get to the other side of it, but we're really holding on for dear life because, we came into the Delmar Maker District trying to be a part of a new chapter for that area. There's been so much disinvestment and so much separation. And we just wanted to create a gathering spot where everybody could come together. And I know that was the vision of Doug Auer and Jim McKelvey and building the Makers Locale. And when they brought that to us, we were just so fired up. We're like, this is so in line with our mission. And so we opened not one but two restaurants, the Fountain on Delmar and Steve's right next to each other. And of course, that was a lot of risk when a tornado comes through.
Right.
And so we reopened our doors in June. We were able to raise on our reopening $50,000 that night for other local businesses, and then a generous donor doubled that.
Wow.
And we were able to give that out as grants to help other people in the neighborhood. But and there was a lot of fanfare that week, but ever since it's been 30 to 50% under what it takes to just cover the bills. And so we've had to put staff other places so they can still get hours. We had to really pull back our opening hours. We're not open as much as we'd like. And we're just doing everything we can to make it to spring and hope that it's better then. But every day that we open, we lose money over there because all of our regulars are gone. And it's really nobody's fault. It's like there's only so much you can ask for in this situation. I can't really ask anything of anybody because everybody else is suffering too, you know?
But is there a message that maybe people have forgotten that these businesses are back open?
Yes.
There are tons of places that need that love and support post tornado, and especially as we head into the winter months, which are always tougher. What is that message to St. Louis? That if you want to see your favorite restaurants or the restaurants that you'd like to see become your favorite, if you want them to survive, you got to support them.
Yeah, I think it's time to tell a different story. I think what I would love to see, and I'm about to launch something called Dollars for Delmar in December, and it should launch December 12th-ish, and we're going to try and raise $1.5 million for this area. 70% of it will go directly in the hands of the businesses, while the rest goes to Delmar Main Street, which is supporting them, and Delmar Maker District itself to sort of do more placemaking. There's still hope here. There's $32 million invested in this neighborhood. It was working. This is just one of those things that we couldn't have foreseen, and I just do not want to see us go backwards here. This neighborhood deserves it. There have been a lot of promises made to this community over the years, and nobody's really delivered on them, and we're trying. And so I really would love for people to get out and get there and support those not just the restaurants, but also Made Magic House, Made Maker Space, Third Degree Glass Factory, Craft Alliance. Get out and support these people so that they can be there on the other side of this, because it will be years before their neighbors return. So really, people are going to have to be intentional. We as a region need to be intentional about supporting that area. If this happened in the Grove, my neighborhood would be going out and supporting them, doing a fundraiser or whatever. Like it's time for St. Louis to rally around this area and tell a different story that we all chose to do
I
this.
think what's amazing too about the business model that you've built, and I think just your personality, is that despite hard times that you guys are going through, you guys are always giving back. It started with COVID. Right now, I know you guys are doing fundraisers for people who are suffering with SNAP benefits that are going away or being reduced. You're working to help the district that you guys are, as a business, are suffering in. Where's the drive? Where does that drive come from for you?
Oh, I've been like that my entire life. And my neighbor got Parkinson's when I was little. I don't know why, but I grabbed a mason jar and went door to door and raised money for him to get by, right? And then I became the person that would go check in on him and be like a caretaker at times, just as a kid. But that is my nature. It's Steve's nature too. And I think that when we're the kind of people that how can I help people? There's a problem, how can we help? I think that we know that if a rising tide raises all boats, and this region has a lot of things going on that we can make an impact on. We can't solve everything, but the little things that we can do to help, we will. When Steve's, just like you talked about earlier, when Steve's was down, the community came back and rallied and supported and made sure that they got through. Even on when they couldn't get out to buy a meal, they would buy a gift card online or
Mhm.
a shirt. Those things really mattered, and that's why we're here. And so we're really dedicated, to Steve and Marcus and I, to paying it forward forever and perpetuity through our businesses.
So I do want to dive a little bit into food because
Yeah.
food is what drives people. Steve's is such a classic spot. You guys have, I've talked to Steve many times over the years, and he's created just this menu that people like seek out. What's your favorite thing? I'm going to ask this for all three of the restaurants. But what's your favorite thing to get at Steve's?
Well, I am gluten-free, so
Okay.
I'm the reason we have the gluten-free bun.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, oh my gosh. So we've got a gluten-free pork steak dog that
Mm.
is my favorite. It is so good. We like braise the pork and shred it, and it is so, so good. And we've got this honey chipotle barbecue sauce
Yum.
that we make and we bottle. I think I've got a case of it in my garage because my kid eats it on every meal. But it's just it's tangy. There's a little bit of heat. It's so, so good. And our dog really is the thing that makes it. It's smoked, it's grilled, it's all beef. It's a high quality, like, it's not what you think of when you think of a hot dog.
Yeah. All right. So then moving over to Steve's Meltdown.
Ugh.
Do you have gluten-free bread there?
Listen, Steve's Meltdown was my baby, and I've never eaten a thing on the menu. I told them my vision, and they made it happen, and I brought a whole test group together, and I was like, does it taste like I think? And I just smelled everything.
Just like wafting it in. How did you come up with that idea?
There was no better comfort food, and we are so good at comfort food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We at Steve's, we have these, for me, another comfort food is hamburgers, and we've
Mhm.
got smash burgers that I think rival our hot dogs there.
Which people
Um,
might not think about
yes.
that you guys have
Oh
those.
my gosh, we took like 2 years to develop the
Mm.
recipe for those, and it was well worth the wait. But so yeah, those kind of comfort food items, there's nothing better than grilled cheese and tomato soup. So
And then the fountain.
the fountain, oh gosh. So the Cuban sandwich is my favorite with a cup of pickle soup.
The pickle soup. I got to know more about it. I know that it's a thing, and I am so intrigued, but also kind of freaked out by it.
Yeah, it's a divider of people. Like some people that love.
And I love pickles.
Oh, do you? Okay, I was
love
gonna
pickles.
say, if you love pickles, you're probably gonna love it. But it's just the most gentle pickle flavor.
Okay.
It's a tomato based soup with just like
Yum.
the lightest little bit of pickle flavor on top, and it's so good. It's so good. And I think people that don't like pickles love it. But we have people that will drive hours.
Oh no, I've heard that.
Yes.
Like it is one of those things that has a cult following.
Yes.
Where did it come from? Like, what's the backstory there? Do you know?
This is Joy's family recipe.
Oh, wow.
And Joy is a little bit of this fairy, and she's got like magic dust, and like everything she touches is just so it's whimsical. It's the biggest of the big and the smallest of the small and the weirdest of the weird. And I just love her imagination. And that was the thing. It was one of many things that was hers. And I'm so grateful that she gave that to us.
What you mentioned, people drive hours. You guys have created these places that people love. What
Mhm.
does it mean to you when people from outside of St. Louis, they're like, hey, I'm coming to St. Louis. I know I got to have toast raviolis and I got to get a Steve's hot dog. What does it mean to you to be a place that people come to our community for?
It's a big deal. We had somebody drive 120 miles last week to get a hot dog, and thankfully we lived up to everything he was thinking of. But it means a lot. That was one of those pie in the sky goals that we set out for. We're big dreamers. And Steve and I said that like the first time we sat down, what do you want to be? And he said, I want to be like the Tedgers of hot dogs. And 3 years later, we were named the official hot dog of St. Louis by the mayor's office. We got a proclamation and everything, and it just keeps going from there. And we really have gotten this nationwide reputation. And it means everything to him and to me. Not just it means that we're succeeding for sure, but like we love our community so deeply, and to be something so iconic now that people think of us when they think of St. Louis, or think of the fountain when they think of St. Louis. That's everything.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive into what's going on in St. Louis this week. Here is your weekly calendar. This week is packed with holiday events. First off, you've got Jingle Down Hampton, a fun and festive evening in the Southampton neighborhood on December 4th. December 6th is a busy, busy day. You've got the Central West End Window Walk. You have the Print Bazaar and Cookie Crawl on Cherokee Street, and you have Grinchmas on South Grand. Now, Sunday, December 7th, if you are feeling a little athletic, you can run the Bad Santa 5K in Carondelet Park. Thanks as always for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you know exactly what's going on in the loo this week.